All right, so we're going to focus on the coupler, which is right here. And we're going to use the coupler combined with the payload compartment tube or payload compartment body. How I'm going to describe how these tubes fit together to make the payload section, and then we're going to mark the coupler about 3 inches up, about halfway up, and get the glue applied to the inside of our payload compartment and have these slide together so we have the basic structure of our payload compartment. So let's start with our measuring. So you always want to make sure you use the ruler where the line is, not just the end of the ruler. I've seen that mistake. And in the payload compartment for the coupler, it wouldn't be a huge issue, but sometimes when you're working with some of the smaller parts, if you're a 1/4 inch or a couple centimeters off, that can cause a bit of an issue. So the directions to this, and I am getting the directions right off the rocket assembly instructions provided by the Central New York Rocket Team Challenge that's available on the internet. And I'll also have some of these, I'll have a copy of these, I'll also have a copy of these instructions in the folder for all teams to view. So it says mark it about 3 inches down. So you can see, here we go, 1, 2, 3 inches. I have my pencil, get this marked out. All right, and that's just our basic mark. So we have our coupler slide into our payload compartment, get it right about there. And that's going to give us plenty of room for our altimeter. Our payload, of course, is going to be our astronaut. So this depth gives us plenty of room to make sure the nose cone fits on. All right, make sure that goes on well. Make sure there's room for the altimeter, room for the payload compartment. To finish off the payload compartment is we'll be putting glue on our bulkhead, and we'll also be putting glue on the screw itself to really lock this in. This takes a lot of force when the shock cord is assembled to this. It takes a lot of force when it's ejected out of the rocket. So basically this is in the bottom. It gets ejected. Let's try that again. Just kind of friction fit that in there if we can. So it sits in the bottom with a shock cord hanging off of it, and the ejection force from the engine pushes this up and out of the main frame. Put some glue on this side just to lock that right in there. Remember, a little bit of glue will do you. You don't need a lot. So I put some on this side. Remember, the more glue you add, lots of times it doesn't make things stronger, just makes them heavier, and that can be an issue. And this tight bond does dry rather quickly. So I'm just going to put some on the bottom, set it down over here for a little while, let that set up, and then I'll come back and apply some to the other side. Meanwhile, we're going to apply glue to the inside of our payload compartment. Slide the coupler right in up to our 3-inch line, which is halfway. So put the glue in, slide this right in. I'm going to put the glue fairly low on the payload compartment, so as I slide the coupler through, it really pushes it up in here and gives a nice tight bond. So I'll spread it, 2 3/4 inches up. I won't go any higher than that. You don't need drips of glue and things in there. That can cause some issues later on. So the next step is to assemble our coupler to our payload compartment. So I've already marked 3 inches down our coupler, and now it's time to put some glue. And I'm going to put glue on both pieces that we're about to assemble. I'm just going to use a rubber glove. You can use craft sticks, you can use dowels, you can use all sorts of things. I'm just going to use a rubber glove for now. So what I'm going to do is take my tight bond, just going to go a couple inches up and down in this. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing. Spreading this around on the inside a bit. Just so I'll have a nice steady bead. I'll slide my coupler into this up to that 3-inch mark that I placed on the coupler just a minute ago. All right, so I got my glue there. I'm going to set that down. Just going to put some glue on this as well into here and up to our 3-inch line. When you slide this in, I've seen a lot of kids make this mistake. They're trying to slide it in and they're squeezing the bottom part of the payload compartment. Now they say, I can't get it in, I can't get this part in. Slide your hand up top. Don't squeeze the payload compartment. And just gradually push that right up into the payload compartment, right to that line. There we go, perfect. I'm just going to take my finger and get any extra glue Get any extra glue that may have oozed out. Get that right out of there. So we still have a really good seal when it comes time to slide our payload compartment into our main airframe. If we have a big glop of glue or something, get a paper towel, wipe it off, or a napkin or something. Just make sure you get it off of there, because what that's getting our bulkhead. And let's just want to test fit this to see if it fits, how easily it fits into our tube. And apply the glue inside the coupler we just put in. Make sure you have a nice bead all the way around, everything connected. Making sure it's secure and there won't be any weak spots. I'm going to set that down. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of glue around here and slide this gently in there. Once again, don't grab the bottom and squeeze where you're trying to apply it. I'm just going to work this in there. Again, I'm not using gloves or anything at this point. It is wood glue. Wood glue, not too bad to get off your hands. Just get it washed off as quickly as you can. Epoxy, I would never do this with epoxy. It's just a mess. Just a little bit deeper than flush. When I say flush, what I really mean is flush is level with the end of the rocket. Oops, that's a mistake. So I have to try that again. Okay, there we go. So you can see I have probably 1/8 of an inch recess. And what I'm going to do is just take my glue and put a bead of glue right around this as well. I've got a nice seam of glue going around and taking the extra off. So right now I'm going to go wash my hands, and I'll be back in a second.